So the first game with the FSR 2.0 is right now Deathloop. Okay, it also had the FSR 1.0 and it now has the FSR 2.0, which is way better. If you are into the tech news, you actually know that the FSR 2.0 actually uses temporal upscaling instead of the spatial upscaling. The spatial upscaling is the most basic upscaling, where the algorithm actually upscales one frame at the time. And we now have temporal upscaling, which is way better in many scenarios. The algorithm uses several frames at the same time to reconstruct a better image, and that's why the temporal upscaling is superior to the spatial upscaling. Nvidia DLSS, for example, uses temporal upscaling as well, instead of the spatial upscaling presented on FSR 1.0 and also the RSR, which is the Radeon Super Resolution, since both use the same algorithm, okay? And the FSR 2.0 uses temporal upscaling like the DLSS. Although it doesn't use machine learning as the DLSS does, so it's a win-win situation. Any previous card, like for example the RX 580, can use FSR 2.0, or at least AMD said they could use. And if they can't, it is because AMD locked the FSR 2.0, but I don't believe that will be an issue, okay? So it will work on older cards because it needs no machine learning like the DLSS from Nvidia. Now, before going into more details, remember this is one game, and in other games the FSR 2.0 may be better when it comes out for the newer games, like for example Forspoken, Microsoft Flight Simulator and so on. When it comes, it may be better in the other games, or it may be worse than in Deathloop. But let me tell you right now, it is definitely a must if you don't have a GPU capable enough of pushing all those FPS you want at a certain resolution, okay? It works well. But well, let's not drag this much, let's go to the results right after the sponsor of today's video. Today's video sponsor is GVG Mall, where using my SKG discount code leads to a 25% off across several products, making a Windows 10 serial key only $16. After the payment, you'll receive the key in your account, and all you need to do is to introduce it in your Windows settings, and bam! You have an activated system. So let's start with image quality first, and then I'll show you the FPS numbers. Here we have native 1440p, FSR 1.0, Ultra Quality and FSR 2.0 Quality. FSR 2.0 has no quality mode, so from this and the later FPS numbers I assume the render resolution is also lower on FSR 2.0 Quality versus the FSR 1.0 Ultra Quality. In terms of image quality, the differences aren't eye-catching, but if you look into it, you can see that the native delivers considerably higher fidelity, but also has a bit rougher edges around the gun. As you zoom in, you can clearly see that both FSR versions lose a fair amount of detail here, but with FSR 2.0 having more defined letters and also more details presented in the wall as well. As for the edges, the native quality is definitely better, but let me tell you, without zooming, you wouldn't even notice. The second scenario is an inside environment with different lighting and shadows. Here the native resolution is once again the fair winner, as it should be obviously, mostly if you look at the grass carpet or the flower over the TV, which is definitely sharper than both FSR versions. But it's not just that. Once you zoom in a bit, pointing at the fireplace, you can see how much more detailed the bricks are on the native resolution, but interestingly enough, only from the mid and below, because in some higher brick rows, the FSR 2.0 actually reconstructs the lines a bit better, but overall, that's it. As for FSR 1.0, in this scenario, it is way inferior with noticeable loss of detail and sharpness, even without any zoom. Well, so far FSR 2.0 did an awesome job in this game compared to its predecessor, even with lower render resolution, but its true potential in this game is shown in dark scenes like this one, even more if they have lots of lines and holes, like we see here in the grids, for example. In there, the FSR 1.0 has the worst image quality by far, and both native and the FSR 1.0 somehow deliver a horrible texture flicker, which looks pretty bad, with FSR 2.0 being clearly superior by showing absolutely no textures flickering and having virtually the same image fidelity as the native resolution. When we zoom into the background, we can see that FSR 2.0 looks a bit blurred, but at the same time it has way better defined lines, mostly in the stairs handrails. The one downside here is that in the native image you can see that some water is dropping from the roof, and it is also presented with FSR 1.0 but not presented with FSR 2.0, meaning that the algorithm got rid of it, maybe because it thought it was some flicker, which is not really optimal since, at least at this distance, the detail would be missed. Now we have another outdoor scenario for more variation. If you look at the up and down movements of the gun, you can see that both native and FSR 1.0 also have a bit of jagged edges, let's call them that, and some texture flickering as well, something that FSR 2.0 does not suffer from, and that shows how much better it is in this particular scenario. Zooming the image to the cell phone tower, guess what? We have even better details than on native resolution, with absolutely no flickering and better defined lines for the cables, antenna, which is not visible in both native and FSR 1.0, and even the house's roof. Going a bit below, we have a fence and things get even more interesting, with FSR 1.0 having a massive quality loss with an almost inexistent fence, and the same applies to the wires. Native does have better details here, but it features a big texture flickering everywhere, with FSR 2.0 being the absolute winner in this case scenario, with a very defined fence, defined cables and no texture flickering. But well, this is with the character standing still, and one of the issues with the FSR 1.0 was the loss of detail when moving around. Let's just watch 3 scenarios in a small run and see, let me know in the comment section actually if you see or if you can notice an actual difference. So now that you've seen the image quality differences, where I actually show you that FSR is way better than FSR 1.0 in this particular game, okay? And in some scenarios even better than native resolution, which is quite insane if you ask me. Let's just go to the FPS numbers to actually see how it performs. I will also include the FSR 1.0 quality mode instead of just the ultra quality for you to see the differences in between image quality and also performance. In terms of FPS numbers, things are also interesting. This time I also included the FSR quality mode for a better comparison both in terms of quality and performance. The higher the resolution, the higher the pixel count the algorithm has to work with, so the output of the upscale will also be better. That's why the FSR 1.0 actually does a decent job here when set to ultra quality, being the quality mode a really big step down. But not for FSR 2.0 that actually can bring a bit more detail once again. Nothing especially noticeable, but it is definitely there. This of course while bringing a performance uplift from 71 to 99 FPS, which is nothing less than great. Basically, better details and higher FPS than FSR 1.0 ultra quality. Now, at 1440p with the RX 6600 XT, the uplift isn't as big as with the 6950 XT at 4K, but that's expectable. We have a performance increase from 74 to 85 FPS with FSR 2.0, and just looking at the ground and the Bobcat/tank in the back, you can see that it also brings more details than native, while also bringing more performance, which makes it the absolute unit. Both scenarios of the FSR 1.0 deliver way less details with a blurred image, and the ultra quality even manages to deliver less FPS than FSR 2.0, which shows how much more the algorithm evolved and how much better the temporal upscaling is compared to the previous spatial upscaling. And well guys, it is what it is, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the results and what you think about FSR 2.0. In my humble opinion, I think FSR 2.0 is crazy good. In terms of linings, for example, as you've seen in that cell phone tower case, as you've seen in the in many other scenarios like the grids in the floor in that dark area, you can see that FSR 2.0 is actually better than the native resolution due to the texture flickering both on native and FSR 1.0 due to spatial upscaling, and that does not happen with FSR 2.0 with temporal upscaling, okay? So it is actually better than native in some scenarios, not all, of course. In terms of details, native is usually better in 90% of times, but FSR does do a good job. And I mean, in terms of actual real gameplay, I can't notice any difference since the game is a bit fast-paced. I cannot notice a difference in between native and FSR 2.0 unless I'm actually looking at it, and even the tests using the motion, even using motion, the things are practically the same. Okay, they are practically the same, they look the same, you don't see any kind of flicker with motion. FSR 2.0 works very well here, and I hope it works the same way or even better in newer games because it is a must. You do not need machine learning like Nvidia does, and it has pretty good quality. As from what I've seen so far, it matches the Nvidia's DLSS in most scenarios, okay? For example, I tested DLSS some time ago with God of War, with the RTX 3060, God of War, Cyberpunk, and some other scenarios. In Cyberpunk it was really well made. The DLSS was very good, and I repeat, very good. And I wish I got FSR 2.0 on Cyberpunk 2077. And I mean, it was really good, but for example in God of War it was a bit over sharpened, and I really didn't like the quality much. And I would like FSR to be implemented, FSR 2.0, to actually bring a better image quality with no over sharpening like DLSS does. And yeah guys, basically that's it for today's video. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Leave your comment in the comment section. Once again, let me know what you think about FSR 2.0, and if you have more data, just leave it in the comment section as well. And see you in the next video.